Present perfect. I have agreed. I have answered. I have apologized. I have asked. I have awakened. I have breathed. I have brushed. I have called. I have cared. I have changed. I have cleaned. I have cleared. You have closed. You have cooked. You have crossed. You have cried. You have danced. You have delivered. You have described. You have desired. You have died. You have disagreed. You have disappeared. You have disliked. She has ended. She has enjoyed. She has established. She has exchanged. She has failed. She has feared. She has guessed. She has hated. She has helped. She has listened. She has lived. She has looked. He has loved. He has missed. He has moved. He has studied. He has walked. He has wanted. He has worked. He has worried. He has been. He has borne. He has become. He has begun. It has broken. It has brought. It has built. It has bought. It has chosen. It has come. It has done. It has drunk. It has driven. It has eaten. It has fed. It has felt. We have found. We have forbidden, forbid. We have forgotten. We have gotten. We have given. We have gone. We have had. We have heard. We have hidden. We have kept. We have known. We have led. We have learnt. We have lost. They have made. They have meant. They have met. They have paid. They have put. They have read. They have written. They have run. They have said. They have seen. They have sold. They have sent. They have slept. They have spoken. They have taken. They have told. They have thought. They have waked. They have won. They have written. Present perfect negative. I haven't agreed. I haven't answered. I haven't apologized. I haven't asked. I haven't awakened. I haven't breathed. I haven't brushed. I haven't called. I haven't cared. I haven't changed. I haven't cleaned. I haven't cleared. You haven't closed. You haven't cooked. You haven't crossed. You haven't cried. You haven't danced. You haven't delivered. You haven't described. You haven't desired. You haven't died. You haven't disagreed. You haven't disappeared. You haven't disliked. She hasn't ended. She hasn't enjoyed. She hasn't established. She hasn't exchanged. She hasn't failed. She hasn't feared. She hasn't guessed. She hasn't hated. She hasn't helped. She hasn't listened. She hasn't lived. She hasn't looked. He hasn't loved. He hasn't missed. He hasn't moved. He hasn't studied. He hasn't walked. He hasn't wanted. He hasn't worked. He hasn't worried. He hasn't been. He hasn't born. He hasn't become. He hasn't begun. It hasn't broken. It hasn't brought. It hasn't built. It hasn't bought. It hasn't chosen. It hasn't come. It hasn't done. It hasn't drunk. It hasn't driven. It hasn't eaten. It hasn't fed. It hasn't felt. We haven't found. We haven't forbidden, forbid. We haven't forgotten. We haven't gotten. We haven't given. We haven't gone. We haven't had. We haven't heard. We haven't hidden. We haven't kept. We haven't known. We haven't led. We haven't learned. We haven't lost. They haven't made. They haven't meant. They haven't met. They haven't paid. They haven't put. They haven't read. They haven't written. They haven't run. They haven't said. They haven't seen. They haven't sold. They haven't sent. They haven't slept. They haven't spoken. They haven't taken. They haven't told. They haven't thought. They haven't waked. They haven't won. They haven't written. Present perfect interrogative. Have you agreed? Have you answered? Have you apologized? Have you asked? Have you awakened? Have you breathed? Have you brushed? Have you called? Have you cared? Have you changed? Have you cleaned? Have you cleared? Have you closed? Have you cooked? Have you crossed? Have you cried? Have you danced? Have you delivered? Have you described? Have you desired? Have you died? Have you disagreed? Have you disappeared? Have you disliked? Has she ended? Has she enjoyed? Has she established? Has she exchanged? Has she failed? Has she feared? Has she guessed? Has she hated? Has she helped? Has she listened? Has she lived? Has she looked? Has he loved? Has he missed? Has he moved? Has he studied? Has he walked? Has he wanted? Has he worked? Has he worried? Has he been? Has he born? Has he become? Has he begun? Has it broken? Has it brought? Has it built? Has it bought? Has it chosen? Has it come? Has it done? Has it drunk? Has it driven? Has it eaten? Has it fed? Has it felt? Have we found? Have we forbidden? Forbid? Have we forgotten? Have we gotten? Have we given? Have we gone? Have we had? Have we heard? Have we hidden? Have we kept? Have we known? Have we led? Have we learned? Have we lost? Have they made? Have they meant? Have they met? Have they paid? Have they put? Have they read? Have they written? Have they run? Have they said? Have they seen? Have they sold? Have they sent? Have they slept? Have they spoken? Have they taken? Have they told? Have they thought? Have they waked? Have they won? Have they written? Present perfect interrogative negative. Haven't I agreed? Haven't I answered? Haven't I apologized? Haven't I asked? Haven't I awakened? Haven't I breathed? Haven't I brushed? Haven't I called? Haven't I cared? Haven't I changed? Haven't I cleaned? Haven't I cleared? Haven't you closed? Haven't you cooked? Haven't you crossed? Haven't you cried? Haven't you danced? Haven't you delivered? Haven't you described? Haven't you desired? Haven't you died? Haven't you disagreed? Haven't you disappeared? Haven't you disliked? Hasn't she ended? Hasn't she enjoyed? Hasn't she established? Hasn't she exchanged? Hasn't she failed? Hasn't she feared? Hasn't she guessed? Hasn't she hated? Hasn't she helped? Hasn't she listened? Hasn't she lived? Hasn't she looked? Hasn't he loved? Hasn't he missed? Hasn't he moved? Hasn't he studied? Hasn't he walked? Hasn't he wanted? Hasn't he worked? Hasn't he worried? Hasn't he been? Hasn't he born? Hasn't he become? Hasn't he begun? Hasn't it broken? Hasn't it brought? Hasn't it built? Hasn't it bought? Hasn't it chosen? Hasn't it come? Hasn't it done? Hasn't it drunk? Hasn't it driven? Hasn't it eaten? Hasn't it fed? Hasn't it felt? Haven't we found? Haven't we forbidden? Forbid? Haven't we forgotten? Haven't we gotten? Haven't we given? Haven't we gone? Haven't we had? Haven't we heard? Haven't we hidden? Haven't we kept? Haven't we known? Haven't we led? Haven't we learned? Haven't we lost? Haven't they made? Haven't they meant? Haven't they met? Haven't they paid? Haven't they put? Haven't they read? Haven't they written? Haven't they run? Haven't they said? Haven't they seen? Haven't they sold? Haven't they sent? Haven't they slept? Haven't they spoken? Haven't they taken? Haven't they told? Haven't they thought? Haven't they waked? Haven't they won? Haven't they written?